In this video, I'm going to show you how I went from this to this, using an engineering trick to make this big wall fit into a small space. Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm the host of the Struggle Climbing Show. I'm a busy dad, and I am a psyched climber. I recently set a goal to climb my first V8, which is a pretty bold goal considering the hardest thing I've ever climbed outdoors so far is a V5. So I know it's going to take some work, and since I'm many hours from quality outdoor bouldering, I knew that I was going to need to take my training up a few notches if I was going to get anywhere near this V8 goal. So here's my setup currently. A fixed spray wall that's about 25 degrees overhung. My ceiling is only 100 inches, so at this angle, there isn't a whole lot of room of climbing that I can do. Usually it's just like a few moves and then I'm at the top. Honestly, my kids put more mileage on this thing than I do, which is cool. I love climbing with them, but how do we all win? How can they have fun on V easy while I train on V hard? And with this low ceiling here in my basement, could I even fit an adjustable wall in here? Well, the only way to find out was to dive in. So I pulled down the old rig to make room for a new wall. But in a sea of system boards, which would fit my goals in my space? After testing pretty much every system board on the market, the clear winner for me was the Kilter Full Ride. They also call it the home wall. The holds are smaller and more varied than the Kilter OG that you'd find at most gyms, which makes it the ideal board for training for outdoor objectives. I mean, look at these holds here. They're absolutely nuts. The first time that I climbed on the full ride was with Alex Magos when we tried a V3 at every angle from 30 degrees to 60 degrees. And I even managed to make him fall at 60 degrees. So look, if me and one of the strongest climbers in the world can session together on the Kilter full ride, I knew it was going to be great for my goals. I love this setup. To make it adjustable while also maximizing the vertical height at which I could climb, the trigonometry gets tricky, y'all. My old spray wall was only 8 feet by 8 feet with a 12-inch kickboard. But for the new setup, I wanted more climbing. So I decided on the 10 by 10, which is, of course, 10 feet wide and 10 feet tall. And that's right in the middle of what Kilter offers on the full ride setup. The crux for me, though, would be getting it to fit under my low ceiling with some amount of adjustability. And that's where another big advantage for the 10 by 10 full ride comes in for my space. It doesn't have a kickboard. A kickboard is just this area down here with like little foot chips that you can use to start a problem. A kickboard gives you room to get established, especially at steep angles, so you aren't so scrunched up underneath the board. They're great if you have the space, but if you don't, it can be a waste of climbing space. So here, let me demonstrate. You see, if I have a 10-foot wall and a 12-inch kickboard, the shallowest angle that I can get with my 100-inch ceiling is 42 degrees. But if I remove the kickboard, the wall has more vertical space and I can now get it to 35 degrees. That's an accessible angle for me and the family, and Kilter has a ton of great climbs in the app at that angle, 3,728 to be exact. But I also want to be able to train at steeper angles, all the way up to 60 degrees, which means that I'll have more than 13,000 climbs to train on. Hell yes, let's go. Now the usual setup for this would be to hinge the wall at the bottom, like the Kilter full ride that I climbed on with Alex, and probably pretty much every other adjustable board that you've ever seen or been on. But with a low ceiling, here's the issue with that. As the wall gets steeper, I'm gonna be losing area to climb. So right now it's at 35 degrees, that's fine. I've got plenty of room to start up. But as it comes down to 40, 45, there's 50. I mean, I can't even get underneath the wall to establish, and I'm not even sitting on a pad right now. I wouldn't be able to start any of these climbs at anything steeper than 35 degrees. So here's the fix. What if we hinge the wall at the top instead of at the bottom? So Blake, go ahead and take it up to the top point there. So here at 35 degrees, again, we're good. I can get underneath here. And if it hinges at the top, as the wall gets steeper and Mitch raises it up, 40 degrees, 45, there's 50 degrees. I've got all of this extra room down here to be able to establish myself on the wall. So when a pad is there, there's no problem. It's like this weird magic trick. You get more climbing room the steeper the wall gets. That's why we're doing it this way. Now, I couldn't find any videos on this, but the concept made sense. So I wrapped in my buddy Blake, who's a builder and obviously a climber, and we started getting to work on it. All right, this seems like a pretty good spot for me to tell you that this is not a how-to video, as in I am telling you how to do this. I'm just sharing what's working for me after talking to some professionals. So if you want to try something like this in your own space, make sure you're talking to somebody who knows what they're doing with regard to structure and engineering and all of that stuff that I don't know anything about myself, so that you don't crush yourself. Okay, let's get back to my build. It's also worth noting that Kilter has an incredible internal team. They've built 1 billion boards in 1 billion different spaces. So if you reach out to them, no doubt they'll be able to help you figure out some solutions if you've got like a really weird or creative space that you're trying to work with. Okay, so after a bunch of thinking and sketching and talking to pros and figuring this whole thing out, we jumped in. First, we built our box using LVL 2x4s. LVL is an engineered lumber. It's way stronger and straighter than like average lumber. It's also more expensive, but using LVL meant that the overall frame would be lighter and stronger than if we were going with just regular 2x6s. To place the cross braces with minimal intrusion on the bolt and light holes, of which there are many, we put the panels on the floor and then fit the supports between those spots. We marked those spots and then left most of the supports off to be attached later so that we could keep the frame light while figuring out how to hang it from the ceiling. Box done, now for the magic, hinging this frame from the ceiling and making it adjustable. So as you can see here, we took a really beefy 2x12 LVL header and ran that across the ceiling joists, going a couple of joists past the width of the climbing wall. Now the main thing with this top hinge setup is to ensure that the hinges are more than strong enough to hold most of the weight of the system, plus the dynamic load of somebody climbing on it. So what I used here are 3/4 inch zinc gate hinges, carriage bolted through the header and then facing opposing directions so there's no lateral play in the system, and then adding a middle hinge for redundancy. This thing feels bomber. And I'm going to put a link in the description to all the materials that I used, but again, this is only for informational purposes. Talk to a professional before choosing your hardware if this is a setup that you're considering. Okay, now that we got the wall hinging from the top, oh my gosh, let's just take a second. How cool is this? Yeah, that is cool. I mean, that is really, really cool. Okay, back to work. We need to secure the back end of the wall here so that it can be made adjustable and locked in at different angles, and also so it can hold some of the weight of the load, especially when we're climbing at steeper angles. Now we first hooked up a winch to make the lifting of the wall easy, and we simply centered that on the back wall and then ran a single cable down to the middle of the wall and secured it with a big ol' eye hook there. And though this winch is rated to 1,500 pounds and could possibly be climbed on just as it is, I wanted something stronger and more redundant for safety, and I also wanted to be able to lock in the exact angle of the wall every time. So these chains here could hold a bus. They took forever to cut through, and once they were secured on the back wall using some climbing anchors there, I set the wall at various angles that I wanted to climb at, and then threw in a carabiner at that chain link so it's super easy to change the wall angle whenever I want to climb. So if I want to work on a climb at 45 degrees, I raise the wall slightly past that angle, throw in that carabiner, and then release the winch so now the wall is hanging fully on the chains. If I want to work on a problem at 45 degrees but I can't quite do it, I could remove that carabiner, lower the wall down to the ground so it's sitting at 35 degrees, learn those moves there, get all that muscle memory, and then put it back up to 45 degrees to see if I can do it. And if you stay to the end of this video, you can see how I'm working on a V6 using exactly this method. But first, let's finish building the wall so I can actually do some climbing. Now, when I ordered my Kilter holds, I also added in the panels because I didn't want to deal with drilling and adding all of those T-nuts. I did that with my spray wall and it was a big hassle. Plus, the Kilter, as you can see, is so densely packed with holds and light holes, I didn't want to mess it up. Also, these panels came with hold numbers and angle etchings right on them, which is going to make setting them way easier and way more accurate than if I had to figure it all out myself. Now, putting up the panels themselves was a cinch due to their smaller size and their Tetris configuration. The most important step, of course, is getting the bottom row straight, since everything else builds off of that. We used clamps to get them all lined up perfectly before countersinking some black deck screws about every 12 inches, which was really satisfying. And as you can see right here, we still don't have all of the framing studs in the wall. We wanted to keep the wall light when we hung it up, and then we wanted to wait until the panels were up because the hold pattern is so dense we wanted to be sure not to cover up any of those holes as we were inserting the studs. So once the panels were all up, we secured the final supports in the back there and then zipped the panels into those. Check out how sick this wall looks! Oh my gosh, I'm so psyched. If I could climb Pinky Monos, I'd already be on it, but I guess we should install some holds. Now, I figured putting the lights in would be the next step and have the holds be last, but the amazing team over at Kilter, who are, by the way, with you every step of the way on this thing if you want them, they let me know that I should put the holds on before the lights so that there's no risk of running a set screw through the wire in the back and causing issues with the lights in the future, which now makes total sense after seeing all of these set screws go through. So getting the holds up was pretty quick because of how thoughtfully they marked each one on the panel as well as the hold itself. Now I'm starting with their mainline set, which is 195 holds, but I also have the option to add the aux hold set in the future, which would then double the hold count. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. I mean, there's already so many holds to put up. Now the panels are drilled and marked for everything, the mainline as well as the aux, and the mainline placements are easily identified here by having the horizontal hole arrangement next to the T-nuts compared to the vertical light hole arrangement for the aux holds. So you simply grab a hold, check the number on it, and find that location on the wall. To set the hold angle, you simply match the line that the number on the hold makes there, like the line of the numbers, with the line that's etched onto the panel of the wall. That's how I know it's in the perfect spot. Each hold gets one bolt and one set screw, boom, moving on to the next. 195 holds took me and a couple friends about an hour to install, but you get to see it done here in just a few seconds of time-lapse magic. And while, by the way, it might appear that I'm just standing around as Kyle and Gray put in all the work, I assure you my brain was working overtime here as I let them know the location of each hold by checking the spreadsheet and then confirming the angle by looking at the board layout on the app. Now this is starting to look like a climbing wall, and I was tempted to just start sessioning right away, but last step was to string the lights so we could actually pull up some of those 13,000 climbs that are in the app, and I was a little overwhelmed when I unpacked all the lights, but it's actually a really easy process. The lights run from the control box onto the back of the board in a vertical grid with 2 LEDs per hold, and they all went in really smoothly and really securely. And now, drum roll please, the moment of truth, flipping the switch. Let's go. Oh, that is a beautiful sight. So there you have it. A few days hard work, some creative problem solving, and a great crew, and this sucker is ready to humble me. And speaking of which, I knew I'd be decking a lot as I travel on this road to V8, so I ditched my old college mattress, which honestly should be burned anyway, and I brought in an incredible 10x12 pad system from the amazing folks over at Asana. They've been at it since 1999, and the quality and the heart that they put into their pads really shows. I'm going to do a separate video on how I fully set up this pad system, but it was super simple, and man, is it a dream to fall on, repeatedly, again and again and again.
Oh, God.
So, did I manage to send that V6 at 45 degrees? Well, after not being able to do it at that angle, I eased the wall off to 35 degrees and I worked the moves for a little while there at that easier angle. I don't know, maybe it made it like a V4 or a V5, but I got it all dialed in. So now let's raise it up to 45 degrees and see if I can do my first ever of the grade on this wall.
Let's go!
The road to V8 is off to such a good start. You guys, I'm so psyched. I loved this build. A huge shout out to all the guys that helped me to make this build happen. The team at Kilter, but also the people whose names are going right there. I couldn't have done this without them. I'm like, I wouldn't know a screwdriver from a screw gun from a sledgehammer. So thank you all for your help with that. And if you out there have questions, you want to do your own build and you want to do something like this, hit me up. I'm happy to answer if I can. And if not, you can connect with the team at Kilter directly. And speaking of the team at Kilter, they're hooking you guys up. Struggle viewers are going to get up to $1,000 off using code STRUGGLE on your own board if you want to put a board in your house. I'm going to put all the details down there for you, along with information about the Asana pads that I'm using and I'm falling on constantly, as well as a bunch of other resources down there. So yeah, let me know if you've got any thoughts or questions. I'm going to get back to my session, and I hope you have an awesome day. See ya.